So you're about to be born in feudal Japan as the son of a samurai, but unfortunately for you, it's not as cool as it seems. While in heaven before you were born, you saw so many epic samurai battles. Men with unbelievable swordsmanship, sick armor, and enough sake to drown a sumo wrestler. But before you even take your first breath, your life is already getting hit with cruelty. Your mother is in terrible shape. During this period in history, there is essentially no science or medicine available to help in the aid of childbirth. So your mother is just raw dogging it. She's sprawled out over a straw mat while one of her friends holds her from behind, and two of the other women start smashing clay plates on the ground and burning incense. They're doing this in order to ward off any negative spirits that may be trying to make their way into this world during your birth. But all of this commotion is just making your poor mother even more anxious than she already is. She finally begins pushing you out of her stomach, and the scene is terrifying. Amid the pandemonium, your mother's vision fades to black, and she dies. Death during childbirth was a pretty common occurrence during this time, even for reputable families like your own. When your father hears the news about your mother's death, his heart drops to his ankles. He feels a sense of emptiness and despair that he can't even describe. He bites his lips so hard that blood starts to run down his face. But his Bushido ways don't allow him to express his emotions any further. There is no room for weakness in this world, especially for a samurai. After a few weeks go by, you're dragged from your crib and hoisted into a temple where your father finally gives you a name. I shall name you Ren. Ren of the Hano family, son of a samurai warrior. From that moment on, your fate is sealed. Although your father does love you dearly, he's not going to cut you any slack. And even as a newborn baby, every time you start crying, you're met with a bamboo switch right to the face, which makes you cry even more. Your father screams, "It's for your own good. You will learn to control your emotions." Your father slams the door shut, and despite not understanding a single word of what he said, you feel an indescribable pain in your chest. But now you're about 3 years old, and things aren't getting any better. Your father is now dead set on drilling Bushido into you as hard as he possibly can. Since your father is the highest ranking samurai in the village, his Bushido, or his warrior way, is all that he lives by. Loyalty, respect, discipline, courage, and above all else, honor. These are the pillars that his Bushido philosophy is based on. Your father lectures you about these pillars, and he lets you know if you ever step out of line, you're gonna be punished. The first thing he tries to teach you is how to bow, which you mess up a few times. He slaps you across the face, knocking you down. And he says, you'll never make it in this world if you can't even bow correctly. You hold back your tears and this time bow correctly. By the time you're 6 years old, you're being forced to read scrolls of poetry and various stories that pertain to the wars of your people. As you read these war stories, you begin to realize how cruel the world actually is. All around you, people are being killed. Every time a village is about to be conquered, the samurai go in and kill everybody. And any leftover enemy samurai end up killing themselves rather than getting captured. And this is seen as honorable. Your father believes that this is the only way of life to live, but you, just being a boy, reject it in your head mentally. Although you vehemently disagree with a lot of his teachings, you don't speak up about it, because if you do, you might be slapped or deprived of your next meal. But before you can even let that thought sink in, it's time to train your swording techniques. Your father hands you a steel sword that is way too big for you to lift and you struggle to pick it up. But the fear of being slapped helps you pick the sword up. You're taught how to hold the sword, how to sheath it, and most importantly, how to wield it. But now you're about 17 years old, and the time has come for you to embrace your destiny. As the son of a samurai, you were raised and groomed to be a samurai yourself, and the moment has finally arrived. The ceremony begins, but your head is elsewhere. Lord Hanma is a brutal shogun, a man who oversees several different villages, and he just so happens to be the man that your father dedicates his life to as a samurai. Lord Hanma has ordered the deaths of hundreds of seemingly innocent people, and he exploits all of these villages far and wide for their resources, just to make himself more rich and powerful. And as you're in this ceremony to become a samurai, you wonder if it's even worth it to accept duty for such crappy people. But the next thing you know, your dad screams, "Kneel down!" It shocks you to your core, snapping you back into reality, and you do as you're told. Your father says, "Ren is now dead. That name is gone and it's never coming back. You will henceforth be known as Shiro." Drums start playing and everyone in the ceremony bows except for your father, who just turns and walks away yet again. But you are now officially a samurai. That night, while trying to sleep, you ponder about your own existence. You ask yourself, why would anyone want to live a life like this? You're essentially just a military slave to Lord Hanma, the most powerful man in this part of Japan. And if you step out of line, you're dead meat. One day while training with some other samurai, a messenger comes down to the training hall and delivers you a direct command from the shogun himself. The messenger says, "Lord Hanma has determined that the enemy village of Nizu is vulnerable. We will invade them, slay any samurai, and claim the village as part of our empire. We attack tonight." All of the samurai meet up at the edge of the village with your father as the leader of the group, and he briefs everyone about their plan of attack. Head straight to the capital of the village and slay each samurai one by one until there are none left. We will then raise our banner at the highest point of the village, claiming it for the Lord of Hanma. You, your father, and the other samurai ride horses through the fields between your village and the Nizu village. And then everyone starts to quietly move towards the village's entrance. As you enter, everything seems awfully quiet, but then out of nowhere, you see an arrow fly by your face, striking your comrade in the neck. You see enemy men jumping from rooftops, from behind walls, from everywhere. This is an ambush. After about 20 minutes of fighting, it's clear that your side has won despite being heavily outnumbered. There are now 3 enemy samurai left, 2 grown men and 1 boy seemingly younger than you are. The 2 older men kill themselves, but the young boy just drops his sword and runs for the hills. Your father watches him run away and does nothing to stop him. He then places the Hanma flag over the village, and your entire group realizes that they have just conquered the village. In the morning, Lord Hanma makes his way over to the newly occupied village, but instead of looking happy, he is angry. He pulls your father to the side and says, "You idiot! I ordered you to kill everybody, and instead of doing that, you let a young boy escape off into the night, didn't you? I have had enough of your softness. Kill yourself now." Your father says nothing for about 3 seconds, then looks over at you and says, "Ren, I love you." Before you can even manage to kill himself, Hanma stabs him in the stomach. You scream and yell like you've never done before, and then Lord Hanma looks at you and says, "You're next." You instantly turn and run as fast as you can outside of the village with no plan in mind whatsoever. Hanma orders the archers to fire at you, which one of them manages to hit you in the leg, but you still manage to escape. You run for about 30 minutes straight, fueled by all the emotions that you can think of, and they keep you running until you reach a river. You see your reflection in the water and begin to cry. This is the first time you've shed a tear since you were 3 years old. The weight of hearing your father's love followed by his murder was just too much to handle. You have to exact revenge for your father and kill Lord Hanma. You find a plum tree nearby and start eating plums to fuel yourself back up. Now it's time for action. So you fill your bag up with plums and jog your way back to your home village. You locate where Lord Hanma's sleeping quarters are, and you notice that there's still a torch lighting up the area. You wait a little bit longer and then climb on top of the building. Then you start throwing plums as hard as you can down at the door. You hear Lord Hanma get up and go outside to check what's going on. Once he steps outside, you instantly hop down and stab him in the throat. You pick the throat because you don't want him to scream or yell for help. He tries to holler, but nothing comes of it. You give off a smirk as his lifeless body hits the floor. You hear another door open, and your life flashes before your eyes. Everything your life has led up to now culminates in this one moment. A few samurai come in running to help, and you decide this is where the journey ends. You stab yourself in the chest with no hesitation. Although this is where your journey ends, your legacy will live on. Your story is written in scrolls and is passed down for hundreds of years. Some view your story as the ultimate traitor who dishonored himself and his dead father, while others see you as a revolutionary figure. Either way, you went out fighting for what you believed in. Your father wasn't given the chance to reclaim his own dignity and honor, but you were able to do so, all the while killing the most corrupt man in Japan. All of the villages that Hanma was exploiting for his own riches have now become more stable. In the end, you rest in peace.